Coffee?
Please join us for our fourth panel of the day that we are really excited to hand this off to our seasoned elder in residence, Miss Daphne Muse, our forever seasoned elder in residence, who is going to be moderating our fourth panel of the day, which is on Black archives and experimentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Tiana. If you had told me I would be sitting in this seat 3 years ago, I would have said, nah. It has been such a tremendous honor to be working with Dr. Pascal, Dr. Rayford, the fellows, and to grow my almost 80-year-old mind to a new level. It has really nurtured me intellectually and emotionally and brought a new lifeline for me. So I am truly honored to be amongst my esteemed panelists here today. And we're going to focus on Black archives and experimentation, something that I am deeply passionate about. And I would like to welcome Alecia Harger, with whom I get to work once a week on the archive that I hold in my home. And she will be discussing what does liberation sound like, Black art and activism in the Bay Area. Gia White, as I walk these paths, UC Berkeley campus, Black History Tour, which I hope each and every one of you will take at least 3 times, because you really need to see it once to know that it exists, twice to feel it, and the 3rd time to take into your pocket and put some coins into it. And then there is Tristen Cousins class, A Memory Capsule and Exploration of Alternative Education. So I'd like to begin with each of you describing briefly your project, what it was, what you accomplished, and show the slides that you have related to your project.
Okay. I believe you were first.
Supposed to go first, yes. Yeah, I sat in the middle to avoid going first, but my name is first, so I did not get away with it. As Ms. Muse said, my name's Alecia. I am so excited and so honored to have gotten this grant, and my project is called What Does Liberation Sound Like? Art and Activism in the Bay Area. So when I first realized that I was eligible for the small grants, I immediately called my co-conspirator and collaborator, whose name is Michaela Gaston, and I was like, girl, I don't know what to do, but there is money on the table and we can make something awesome. And so we had like an hour-long phone call where we were just spitballing random ideas and kind of throwing things at the wall and seeing what stuck. And we realized that there is so much activism happening in the Bay that is not getting archived and is not getting recorded. And we have archives of like the Black Panther Party, which now for young activists like myself are such an incredibly rich resource and are so valuable as we try to like move forward and think about what activism looks like today. And so I was looking around and looking at my peers and all these people engaged in all of this incredible work. And I was like, damn, we need to get this in the books. Like we need to get this recorded. That being said, I am somebody who has the attention span of somebody who's addicted to Instagram Reels, and therefore I'm not going to like dig through an archive necessarily. Like I myself, I'm not necessarily going to go and like into a library and be like in the stacks, you know? And I think that, and I respect people who do, I respect the hell out of it. But for those of us with gerbil attention spans, we need things that can grab people's attention and things that are novel and interesting. And so that's how we came up with this idea to have what we consider to be an artistic archive or a living archive. And so our project is traditional interviews, which we are going to house online in their full length so people can access those if they want. But we're also interweaving those interviews with B-roll footage and music to create a mini documentary that is about art and is about activism in the Bay Area. And also we are thinking about the ways that art and activism are intertwined. the ways that art influences activism and vice versa. And I have a very short clip. I thought it was supposed to be 5 minutes and it was 2. So as I was cutting it down, I was just so distraught because everyone I interviewed was so genius that cutting it down was like painful, but that's why we are gonna have a full-length one. It's also really poorly edited because I edited it, and I actually got a supplementary grant so that I will not be editing the full-length one. So that's kind of me doing a favor to everyone who ever sees this project, because it would be really bad if I edited it myself. So here's the thing that I edited. Here's the thing that I edited, everyone. It's gonna be great. You're gonna love it. You're gonna love it.
And for our final and most esoteric question, I'd like you to tell me what you think liberation sounds like.
What it sounds like?
Mm-hmm.
An unfettered heartbeat. There's no irregular beat caused by stress. There's no sped up beat caused by anxiety. There is no trouble in the heart. It sounds like this little bird that's outside my window just today, it wasn't there yesterday, just quietly chirping. I think when birds sing, it's very liberating because that's why they sing. Because they're free.
Liberation sounds like baby giggles.
I think it has a funky beat on it for sure. But if it were music. But the sound of children laughing and playing free is amazing.
I think liberation sounds like newborn baby cries. I think it sounds like family conversations in the kitchen on a holiday. I think it sounds like cars passing on the road with loud music playing. I think it sounds like harmonious universal chants and fists up and bootlace and zip tying and bullhorning. I think liberation sounds sweet.
Yeah, so those are 4 of my amazing interviewees. We have probably 3 or 4 more still coming, but I think that they speak for themselves. It was an incredible experience to sit down with all of these individuals for between 30 minutes and like an hour and a half and just get to hear literally everything that they have to say and want to say about their art and their activism and what they do for their community and what their community does for them. And like I said, I am going to create a website that hosts the full-length interviews and also hosts the full-length mini documentary. And we're hoping to do some actual like screenings of the documentary once it's fully edited and all done. So if you would like to get on the mailing list for that so you can know what's up and stay updated, you can scan the QR code or use the teeny URL. Tiny URL, I suppose. Teeny URL. Kind of cute, diminutive. But yeah, it's been an incredible experience, and I think that the Bay just has so much to offer. And like, even as gentrification continues to creep, even as Black people continue to leave and white people continue to take over, there's just so much here, and there's so much worth codifying, and there's so much worth uplifting. So I feel very lucky to be able to have done that.
Thank you. Ms. White?
Hello, everyone. I am so excited to be here and to be on this panel. I'm very honored to be next to our elder in residence, Ms. Daphne Muse, and also thank Dr. Tiana Paschel and Dr. Lee Rayford and Barbara, of course, for all their support for my grant. So I'll tell you a little bit about it. My project was to design an in-person Black history tour for the UC Berkeley campus. And I'm telling you, there was a conversation a little bit earlier, I think the first panel, about mysticism and magicalism. And I feel that happened to me. I feel that I was led to do this tour. And there were so many breadcrumbs along the way, maybe more like loaves of bread along the way, that pointed me to this. And it's because there were two avenues in my life personally that converged to make this happen. And one was that in 2015, I became a docent at Mountain View Cemetery in Oakland. And it was there that I learned, the Black history of Oakland. And I was touring and giving tours. And I found two individuals that I'd never heard of, Walter Gordon and Ida Louise Jackson. And I found out they were actually among the first cohort of African-American students to come to Berkeley. And also, of course, I am a product of Berkeley. I was an undergraduate student who graduated in the 1980s and now a longtime staff member for over 30 years. So all of that converged, and I said, wait, why did I have to learn about them in my role as a docent at a cemetery after my long and deep connection to UC Berkeley? Just didn't really add up that I didn't know about these individuals. So I started and I endeavored to do my own independent research about these individuals and their lives. Of course, the oral histories in the Bancroft were invaluable. Oral history is such an incredible record that we can always pull from. And I did that, and it was amazing. It was my own research. And then I got an opportunity to write the article on the first African-American women to attend UC Berkeley for the 150th anniversary of the admission of women to the university. It was a project that I was asked to write an essay about. So it sort of unfolded in this very sort of natural, organic way. And based on that, the Black Lives of Cal project was started by Takia Jackson, and Caleb Dawson, who's in the audience, was just an incredible, incredible inspiration. He led the undergraduate team, and that led to me applying for the Black Studies Collaboratory grant and getting a grant to actually design this tour. So I am so thrilled and grateful to just be a part of this, and also to be a part of the legacy, because part of my goal was to make sure that as students and the generations of faculty and staff and even visitors and community members know these stories. I mean, I can just tell you briefly that, I've done the tour now about 7 times, and each time people are so happy to have this information. There are results from certain individuals being on the tour and saying, "Hey, I can help with that." I gave a tour for the MasterCard scholars from Africa this year, who came here really not knowing about the Black history connected to Berkeley, and left with some knowledge that now they want to have it all the time. So I'm just excited to be the person that got to present this to the campus. And I love the project. I should actually do my slides. So sorry. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's see. Let me just give you, that doesn't, oh yes, wait, let me go back. So this is just a composite of some of the people that are on the tour. The first African-American woman that graduated, of course, Barbara Christian, that amazing professor of mine that I can say is just a wonderful, wonderful stop on the tour. Her building, actually, which is Christian Hall, we stopped there. We stop at Ida Louise Jackson Graduate House. I mean, we go through the campus and we start actually at, I'll go to the next slide, which is Memorial Stadium. We talk about Walter Gordon, sort of coming from the top of the campus down, literally. And we wind through and talk about the spaces that are connected with these incredible individuals. And also being mindful that there are stories there of people that had maybe not so incredible lives, right? Not to make it these only exceptionally, gifted or incredible people, that just regular people who maybe died during the influenza pandemic or of tuberculosis, but they were here and they mattered. And so I like the variety of people that we have on the tour. I just also want to mention that the in-person tour informs a podcast version that's coming out, and it's coming out Black Homecoming is coming up and we should have it then. So that will broaden the access to the tour as well. And I want to mention Daniela Lake, an undergraduate student who, at the same time I thought, hey, I want to do a tour, she said, I want to do a podcast. And she's a communications major who gave us access to the Ethnic Studies podcast studio on campus. And she's done a wonderful job, as long as Bria Suggs and some of our other students, to get the podcast ready. Again, that's going to make it so people anywhere can come to campus and learn about the Black history. So I'm excited about that version as well. This is something I played at the NCORE conference that I went to, but I think we don't have time for that. But I just want to mention that an example is we stop at Wheeler Hall, and Wheeler Hall this year was the 100th anniversary of W.E.B. Du Bois coming and speaking there. And he totally inspired Louise Alone Thompson Patterson. And he inspired her to her life of social activism. And we talk about that. And we talk about it on the very steps where he had to ascend into that building to give his speech. And so those moments, and I think the reason why I chose As I Walk These Paths as a title is that for me, Berkeley's and these paths and this space has become like hallowed ground where the people that our ancestors have come and walked, and I just love amplifying those lives. So I will tell you, this is a picture of one of the first large groups of tour goers, and it was a beautiful day. It actually was spring break, which is why you do not see that many people on Sproul Plaza, so we got a great photo, right? But just the joy and the camaraderie with the different groups on campus that I've worked with has led to just a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful time and legacy. And I hope this tour just continues on. And I believe it will continue on way past me. And that is what my intention was. So thank you very much. I hope it didn't take too much time, but that is my project in a nutshell.
Just imagine whose footsteps you're walking in and whose energy is surrounding your lives and whose intellect continues to impact it. Ms. Cousins?
Hi, I'm Tristen Cousins, and I am really thankful to the BSC because as a transfer student, it kind of took me a little bit after junior year to get acclimated to Berkeley and what opportunities were here and what to explore. So earlier this spring, when I started attending the events at BAMFA, I got to see Angela LeBlanc-Ernest have a presentation about the OCS project. And after that, I just emailed her because I was really intrigued by it. And it made me think a lot about my own education and the school that I went to that no longer exists. And she's the one that pointed me in the direction of the small grant. So I'm very grateful for her for showing me that opportunity. And basically what I wanted to go over was this really cool school that I attended that was really Black and really powerful. Like, I'm really glad to say that my first teacher was Black, and I didn't know that that was an experience that not a lot of people share. So it's a school in Inglewood, where I'm from originally, and basically, the pedagogy is really rooted in cultural responsiveness. And I think that this is something that was unheard of to me because in The Matrix, as one of the teachers, as one of the educators I got to talk to about this describes, which is basically just mainstream education, it doesn't really have trauma-enforced care towards young Black kids. And I just really wanted to talk about this school because I'm obsessed with it, even though I only attended for like 3 years to the first grade, like half of first grade, really. And it still had such a big impact on me and my morals and my values. And I got to learn so much and see so much of myself. And knowing that the founders came together with this alternative education style or way of doing rather than being, a way of being rather than doing, it was really nice to see that and get to learn more about it instead of it just being a fun, cute experience where I got to perform The Wiz at like the Wilshire. And for some reason it wasn't sponsored by Stevie Wonder, but we sang all of his songs. And I'm like, that's not the Wiz song, but it's just really cool. And I wanted to learn more about it. And I just kind of started from there, that this was something that I was interested in. And I feel like the grant was really like, I don't know, like whoever did the wording for it, it was really amazing. It was like, we support you and you should do this thing because it's going to be amazing, whatever you come up with. So I feel like really comfortable in that. And that's what I ended up going with. And I do have maybe something. Oh, words. So everyone had really cute pictures, but words right here. But basically what I'm talking about is the charter school movement back in the day, in the early 2000s. And CLASS wasn't really, which CLASS stands for Cultural Language Academy of Success. And it wasn't really a charter school. It was a nonprofit, but they applied through the charter school system because it was easier and more accessible. And basically a lot of schools in LA back then were able to pop up and kind of practice their own teachings and what they learned. All three founders, Shiraki Hawley and Anthony Jackson and Janice Buckner, they did this advanced English program in LA that taught them cultural responsiveness. And I talk about that right here with more words. Here's a little timeline of just when it was incorporated back in 2003. I attended back in 2005, so I wasn't the very first class, but I started in pre-K and went to half of first grade and ended up having to leave because of financial mismanagement. The school got shut down, and it was really sad because it was a great school and all of the kids were affected the most. We followed the principles of Ma'at, just responsibility, balance, reciprocity, and it was amazing. In the morning, we would recite Tupac, and it's called Where There's a Will, There's a Way. And we would mix in I want, I can, I will. And I feel like having that in the morning all the time, holding hands in a circle with kids that have a kente cloth tie and a red jacket. It's who made this uniform, one? But also, it was just so cute to see all these little people saying that they're deserving of what they want and they can get it because they have the support. So that's me in my little uniform. And it's my favorite uniform to this day, honestly. I couldn't rock anything else. That's why I'm wearing red today. But that little tie, we did something with that tie. And I really think that going here really shaped who I am and what kind of community I look for. I think wherever I go, whether it's school or in clubs, I always have to be involved in community. So that was cool. And I have a little video that I made. Please set the bar even lower than Alecia. I edited it by myself on iMovie. I tried to go above and beyond and use Premiere Pro. I don't know how to use that. It looks like coding, but I used iMovie, and it's just really some videos I found, shout out to Facebook people, and them not seeing me as too scary because I had no friends and not a profile picture, but I learned and I added and they trusted me. But I just had some videos and some pictures and a little bit of audio from some of the people I got to have conversations with, my former teachers. And yeah, I think, did I press play?
The glare is so bad, I can't see.
I know.
This is the Wiz.
They just taught to the whole well-roundedness, the whole child, every aspect of the child. And so it didn't matter what kind of learning you were. If you were a kinesthetic learner, audio learner, or visual, any kind of learner that you were, if you were at class, you were going to get the information because we taught to every area of learning. So there was no one falling through the cracks.
Cultural responsiveness is when you validate who the students are, right? Their cultures, their languages, while also, and this is kind of our official, almost our official definition, you build and bridge them to the cultures of mainstream American society and academia, but without devaluing who they are in the process.
That would be a reward.
It would have to take a Shiraki Holly and an Anthony. Visionaries.
Wow.
It could take a Tristen and somebody else to open another class. Visionaries.
That's it.
It's amazing how profound those early years are in shaping us, and that you have that documentation to go forward and reflect on that. And I think that's pretty wonderful. And red will always mean something very special to you. Please briefly describe your project. Oh, what it is. Oh, you've done that. Are there ways that the small grant opened up new opportunities for you, ergo new methodological approaches, new avenues of research, new collaborations?
Absolutely. I couldn't anticipate the really avalanche of opportunities I got. Now, I remember I've been a staff member here for like 34 years. So it wasn't until this grant came along, until the project came along, that all of a sudden I was asked to be on a steering committee for the Black Lives at Cal project. And then someone from the Dismantling Racism groups contacted me and said, hey, someone on our took your tour and they want you to come and present or give a tour as well. And, you know, all of a sudden I'm plugged into on a panel or a discussion about a Black arts project in the law school. And it's like, wow, you know, I have access to groups and people and to collaborate and give a voice that I'd never had before. And so it's been wonderful in that way, you know, just to be able to contribute. So it's been a great thing for me personally. And it has opened up new avenues of research for me as well, because I'm also studying, and I have been working on an essay on the first African-American men that came to Berkeley. And I want to sort of put that together with the additional information I've learned from those early times. So I'm just continuing on with my research, and I love the collaboration I've been able to get, for sure.
Alecia?
See, this time sitting in the middle did work in my favor. I want to start by shouting out the people in the video, because I realized I did not say who they were, so that's important. Erica Huggins obviously is an iconic Bay Area activist, national activist. Juba is a Bay Area queer musical artist who also has done work with AIDS activism, particularly for queer, trans people and sex workers, so people who often do not have easy access to that kind of care. Wanda is an urban farmer, and she's set up edible schoolyards in multiple schools in East and West Oakland, I believe. And Desiree is an organizer with the Black Organizing Project, which is the group that is working to get police out of the Oakland Unified School District. So those are the 4 people I've already had the honor of interviewing. And this project most definitely has opened up new avenues for me. I was an artist as a kid. I was a jazz singer from like 4th grade through like middle of high school kind of. And I sort of dropped that to focus on academics and focus on like, you know, getting through UC Berkeley is a pretty Herculean task. So that's what I focused on for 4 years. And this grant gave me the opportunity to merge my interest in Black studies and my interest in music and art and also my interest in activism. And I just feel so grateful to have had the opportunity to marry all of those things in this one project. And also so grateful because being able to be like, hey, I have a project that's funded through the UC Berkeley Black Studies Collaboratory is like, give me a little bit of clout to get those interviews, you know? And so I'm very grateful to have been able to put that little logo at the bottom of my emails, you know, that I definitely think that helped. Yeah, but this is a project I would not have embarked upon at all had it not been for the Black Studies Collaboratory. I think the grant application process is a huge barrier for a lot of people who want to embark on projects, particularly creative projects that don't have like an institutional backer, do not have any kind of like, there's no like precedent for it. If you're trying to create something really new, the grant application process is really daunting. And so I'm just forever grateful that you guys opened up this opportunity for undergraduates like myself.
Ms. Cousins?
I feel like I got to know a lot of people within the Black Studies Collaboratory, and specifically, I do want to shout out Barbara because I feel like whenever I'm sending an email, oh, there's gonna be boos when I say this, but I send an email and I'm always like, prepare to be sick of me. I'm always confused and don't know what I'm doing. And she's so helpful and very quick to respond, so I'm really grateful for that. But all of the events I've gone to here have been amazing and I've really enjoyed going to them. But being able to see Angela's presentation, I was able to learn more about the OCS project because I hadn't heard of it before. And she invited me to go to her seminars this summer with her other interns and sit in and do their readings and be able to see what photos they were archiving. And I got to learn a lot about digital humanities and community archiving. And it's been really fun to have kind of a whole new world opened up when there's things or you feel like you really want to do something, or I've always felt like I really wanted to talk about class, but I didn't know what way to do that or what avenue to take. So I think I've been opened up to a lot of amazing people through this grant. And I also like saying this was funded, not by me, but by UC Berkeley. And it's been really nice. I feel really supported. And I think being able to meet so many people who also have similar interests and are also interested in education in that way and want to explore it anymore and have like questions, I think the most that I've been throughout this whole thing is curious. So that's been really nice.
Yeah.
What did you do when you encountered challenges? How did your project change from what you proposed? And what did you learn from adapting and experimenting?
Okay, I can say that my challenges were more internal in some ways because, you know, I had all of this ideas and plans in my head, and then I had to I would be on campus and walking around and making notes. I don't know if you saw me like walking all around campus and hoping I chose the right space and the right person and the responsibility of sort of saying, okay, yeah, this is the Black History Campus Tour. Well, why should I do this? I mean, why am I qualified? Sort of thinking about, you know, someone who had much higher degrees in academics, you know, could have done this. And then I thought, well, Gia, you know, they didn't though. So, go ahead. So I just sort of was struggling with that and owning it and going, you know what, Gia, it's okay. You know, there is a basis for you to do this tour. Also, I have to say is that the support I got from the students, from Caleb and Kevin, they would come with me on the tour, you know, and I'd be, you know, giving my spiel and talking about these wonderful people, and they would be there just cheering me on. So that support was so important, you know, even just technical support of every step of the way. So I think that was my challenge. It was much more like, hey, why am I doing this? But then owning it and saying, you know what, I am doing this. And I think the choices I made, I tried to make choices that showed a range of individuals on the tour, places on the tour. And then I realized at some point, I'm not going to have control over it. It's going to grow. It's going to change for the better beyond me. So don't, you know, hold on too tight to what you think it should be. Let other people, you know, put their mark on this tour. And so that was my main challenge, because honestly, I got a lot of support once the tour was underway.
I definitely have had my fair share of challenges over the course of the last however many 9 months. Challenge number 1, editing is very hard. Didn't know. That's why people do it as a job. As you said, Premiere Pro is incredibly scary. There are lots of buttons. I opened it up, I closed it immediately. I was like, I cannot do this. And so I'm super grateful that I was able to get a supplementary grant. So now I'm able to fairly or somewhat fairly, he is still doing me a super big solid to do it at all, but fairly compensate an editor to make the project really stand up. Another challenge that I had was just like narrowing down who to talk to. There are far too many cool Black people in the Bay Area. Like, I was so overwhelmed, and I sent out so many emails and then got so many responses, and then told my collaborator, I was like, okay, so like I have like 9 yeses. And she was like, Alecia, this is a mini doc, mini. And I was like, okay, well, it got a little bit out of hand. So it is a little out of hand still, but I can't stop. I love listening to these people talk so much, and I'm learning so much. So I refuse to stop interviewing people. I'm just going to do it for the rest of my life. And another challenge is we want to incorporate music into this. Like, we want to have, initially we wanted to have original music. That is hard. Just like editing, writing songs is also really hard. Who would have thunk? But we do still want to record new music, but I'm also thinking of reaching out to some of the like up and coming artists in the Bay that I know to feature some of their songs. And I think that that's kind of like a good in between, so that like we can have some songs that we recorded especially for this project, but then we'll be able to integrate some of the musical culture that's coming up in the Bay right now. Because like the hyphy movement may be over, but there is so much popping in the Bay musically, and I think it's very worth it to feature that.
Yeah, I would say the biggest challenges was also just communicating with people, and a lot of mine was through Facebook, because there just so happened to be like a class, like memorial group on Facebook of people who like, if I'm not the only one obsessed, there are other people who are also obsessed as I am and really enjoyed their experience. And it's honestly hard. I would just be like, hey, do you know about class? Like, this is me, this is what I'm doing. And trying to like build the trust with people, because some people would be like, who are you, girl? You don't have any friends on Facebook? That's weird. And it would be like different times when people are available, people have work, people couldn't make it last minute. And honestly, it was just being really understanding and like, okay, like that's fine and normal. And there's nothing wrong with that. We can catch up another time. And I think also being comfortable with the amount of time you had. I think also I'm saying also a lot, but I like the project kept changing as I was going. And I feel like sometimes the journey really provided me a lot of clarity on what my question was to begin with in a way. And it changed a lot from having so many interviews and 2 hours of footage to just wanting to talk to my family about it, because they were also heavily impacted by my experience and being able to witness it, especially coming from like Omaha, Nebraska and Arkansas, like not seeing something like that before. And going from very talking to everyone and then making it more personal, but also saying like, this is something that everyone needs to know about and understand a lot more thoroughly, because it's very important and not just a cute, magical thing that kids just so happen to be successful at. It was very well thought out about. And that was a lot of the growing pains of, I think, this project. But it's been really nice to explore where it's going and where it's been, and lots of people that I still have to talk to, and a lot of people that I was still talking to up to this week, and founders to have conversations with, because the conversation doesn't stop. And this school isn't just me. It's not just my perspective, but it is also me. But so many people are affected by me, and I'm affected by them, and I should talk to them as well and know what they think about it. And I think kind of holding all of that in my mind and trying to include as much as possible was a little bit of a challenge. But then I think just knowing that any story at all about class, like so many people are just grateful that I'm talking about it and I want to talk about it and I have interest in it. So that was really reassuring.
Why is your topic important, and relevant to you, Black studies, and Black life and culture?
Sure.
Go ahead. Reverse order.
I thought this chair saved me. I thought my name saved me with that T. But
It's all about
the middle, yeah. You won the lottery with that one. I would say it's important to, especially young elementary Black life, because so many times Black youth don't feel safe in the classroom. There's like something with third graders that in third grade, especially young Black males, decide whether or not this is going to be something for them, whether or not this is a space that they see themselves thriving in or that they trust. And it's important to have pedagogical practices or education that's rooted in cultural responsiveness and wanting to be curious about the community that you're working with, especially in South Central LA or Inglewood, where it was predominantly Black and brown. And it's really important and fundamental to their growth and who they become as an adult, what values they hold on to. And being able to see myself not only in educators or student advocates, as they would call themselves, being called a scribe from my principals and my teachers, I really feel like children need that sort of education and support. And it's a requirement to want to support and be curious about the young minds that you're watering and helping grow. And having that support for young Black life and in Black history, I think that education, especially from a Black lens, has always been very transformative and different from what we see as mainstream or in predominantly white institutions. So I think that's why it's most important.
I think that having a record of activist work is incredibly crucial. And there was a moment with this project where, like, you know, it's been a long 9 months or whatever it's been. Like, it's waxed and waned my faith in my own concept and idea, as you said. Like, that's part of the challenge, is just like being like, am I really the person that should be doing this? Like, but I was talking to Desiree of the Black Organizing Project, and she got so excited about this project because she was like, yeah, like, people have not reached out to me to write about what we're doing. Like, some people have, obviously, but like, especially like with the backing of an institution, people have not reached out to the Black Organizing Project, and they are doing incredibly crucial work. Like, they passed the George Floyd resolution, which said that they're going to get cops off of OUSD. And like, the OUSD cops were very bad. And that's a huge part of school push out and why Black youth and brown youth and low income youth end up kicked out of the Oakland Unified School District, is because it's incredibly carceral. And so she was just so excited that I was going to come and interview her and get all of this stuff codified. And I'm also an activist, and I have found I spent a lot of my youth engaging in activism without having access to historical records of activism. And that meant that I spent a lot of time doing a lot of nothing, like trying as hard as I could and spending a lot of hours, but not accomplishing anything because I didn't have access to the history of activism that should be undergirding my work. And I still feel that way sometimes. I still sometimes feel like I don't understand the history that should be scaffolding what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. And so I see this work as kind of a tribute, a gift to whoever comes in 10 years and is trying to shake stuff up in the Bay Area. Shake stuff up in the Bay Area and make changes in the Bay Area. So that they can know whose shoulders they stand on, and so that we can have this record. And also, again, so we can think about how art intertwines with activism, because I think that Black art is not necessarily a work of activism, but is very often a work of activism. But I think that Black activism is almost necessarily a form of art. And that's something that somebody said, that Desiree said in our interviews. She was like, there's an art to just getting up every day. There's an art to continuing the fight. All of that is art. And so I think it's very important that we give credence to the art of Black activism and Black freedom fighting and Black life making.
Let's see. I thought about this a lot because I harkened back and I thought back to when I was a student myself, and I would have so benefited from knowing about the people that I learned about so much later, in life. As a student, just to have those stories as part of my experience and part of being part of that legacy. And that became clear to me once I actually gave a presentation to one of the senior honors classes in African American Studies, and the students looked at my presentation and said, "Wow, I wish I had known about these people." And a couple of them came to my office. I said, "Hey, come to me. Let's talk about what you're doing with your thesis." And we sort of had a dialogue on it based on the fact that they now had something to sort of latch on to and go, wow, and then told me later on, that kind of pushed me over the finish line. I was kind of feeling isolated. I was feeling like, man, do I really belong here? Am I part of this? And you showed me some history that I didn't know. And so I think that's why it's really, really important to have this information sort of, so that eventually in a few years, I hope it just rolls off everybody's tongues and people know who these individuals are. Just as, I was talking about the unnaming of the buildings that's going on, and there have been 5 so far. And I talked about it this week with the MasterCard Scholars in conjunction with Ida Louise Jackson Graduate House, because there's the story, I don't know how well known it is now, about President David Barrows at the time and how he treated those young African-American women who came very in earnest and had their picture made for the yearbook. And he told them they were not representative of the student body, and that's why their photo never made it in. And I talk about that, and I talk about the unnaming, and I feel like the tour creates this counterweight. It's like all of those building names, and those names seared in our memories that were intentionally put there for years, that every time we walked into Moses Hall or Kroeber Hall or Barrows Hall, all of those things remained with us. And now we get a chance to have a counterweight to all of that. And because those racist ideologies, that white supremacy that those men lifted up, and their names were emblazoned for so many years. And I'm just very happy that the Black History Tour has an opportunity to sort of do a counterweight to that, and get the names of these other incredible individuals who are associated with the campus, who truly have a rightful right to have their names on a building, to be talked about and to be known. So I think that's why it's extremely important. And I feel like I'm just honored to have a little part in that process.
I wonder if, as people begin to digitize more and more works, if the yearbooks will ever be digitized, and if those, quote, missing members of the Berkeley community can be added in that process. Just a thought.
That is a great thought.
Just a thought.
And there's a lot of digitization going on.
Yes. So in these daunting, COVID-driven, racially charged times, the people affiliated with, the leadership of, and the community members who engaged with the BSC did not allow the structural forces of racism and classism and capitalism, as I call it, to deconstruct you, to wipe you off the map. You created a whole new landscape. And I think it's a landscape that a lot of scholars will come to know and walk that terrain in the future. So I thank you for devoting your time and energy to certainly lifting up the lid of my knowledge even higher. And I'd like to open up. Do we have time for questions? No questions. Okay, but you can email folks questions if you want to continue the dialogue, or TikTok it, or Rick Rock it, or whatever y'all do with it. All right. Thank you very much.